What's up guys, today we're going to be color grading with Dehancer film emulation, which is a very powerful plugin or film emulation plugins that allow you to get that filmic look with your digital footage. And I'm actually going to show you my process, also explain to you some of the choices that I make, and I hope you're going to learn something from this video. So first of all, I'm gonna take you into my DaVinci Resolve, and the first thing that we must do is to always come here to our color management and trying to set our input correctly so Resolve can input or read our image the best way that it can. By the way, I made another long video that gives you all the information about color management, so you can check it, and I'll link it in the description. But as you can see, my color science is DaVinci YRGB, and my timeline color space is DaVinci Intermediate, and my output color space, which is what my monitor is calibrated to, which is Rec 709. But again, this changes depending on who is grading, and I'm actually working in a non-color manage because I'm going to be using color space transform to go from one color space to another one that is more friendly with the film print emulation that we're going to be using. So I'm going to cancel because I've already done that. And as you can see, this is my clip. By the way, I shot this myself, and if you're new here, I'm a DP director based in London, and obviously if you've got some film project, just hit me out. And this meant to be two people working out in the gym, also discussing about work, and the lighting was pretty much trying to emulate what the natural gym light would be, with some highlight on their faces. And most of this look is going to be achieved on the basis that I actually focus more on getting close to my delivery or to the look that I wanted in post when I was shooting. And I hope you know that, and I just don't want you to come here and start pressing up and down and think how my image is not like this. But mostly the work that you need to do have to be in pre-production and post-production to make sure that the image that you are capturing is closer to your delivery. And I hope that makes sense. So first thing, I'm actually going to explain to you my node tree, and this is the node that I use. As you can see, where I placed Dehancer, and the reason why I placed Dehancer here is because I do not want to put it on the first node, as that allow me to not be able to manipulate my clip my node correctly. So if you put Dehancer here, everything else is affected, and you're not going to be able to balance pre-Dehancer. Again, in the long video I actually explain that. So let me take you through my node trees before we go. I do have my LUMA. This is where I actually come and decide this is the luminance balance that I want my image to have. And then this is contrast. Again, I have to add contrast based on the desired deliverables, and this is my balance. Is everything looking correctly? Is the black look black? Is the white look white? Is the red look red? As you can tell, that's very self-explanatory. And this is my saturation, and I have to leave this node separate so I can add or desaturate or even remove some contrast to help me to achieve the look that I want. And this three node here, these are my parallel. The reason why I do have this parallel, because again, I want to make sure that I take care of the white just in case it's too much and taking away from my characters. And these are the black, because we're dealing with black skin tone, also black hair, and the cloth is black. I want to make sure that the black look absolute black. You get the point. And this is my skin tone. So this is my color space transform. And the reason why I actually do have a color space transform is because I basically am working in a non-color manage, so I'm going to be transforming this into Cineon log film, which is a film. It's a color space that is best for using any film print emulation. And by the way, Dehancer also have their own, but it's very camera based and it's limited. And the reason why I do like to use DaVinci one, because it's color space based, where you basically put, let's say, Rec 709 to where you want to take it, and I believe that resolve is more accurate. But if you want to use Dehancer's one, you can go and do that. Again, in the other video I explain more about color space and also so much more, which I'll link in the description. So now, as you can see, if we go to Dehancer, I basically put my input color space and my output gamma and my output color space, which now it's Rec 709, as you can see. And this is what DaVinci Resolve believe is the Rec 709 that my camera captures. And there's a few things that you need to understand about what your camera see and basically what your monitor can show you. So one thing that we're going to do, we're then going to take this and basically transform it into Cineon log film for us then to use it with Dehancer. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to look for Cineon log film, and this is what we have. So this is a Cineon log film, and now we are ready to input that into Dehancer. But first, we're going to go back to our search and search Dehancer, and we're going to put Dehancer here, and immediately we do have this look because there's a few things pre-selected with Dehancer. And one thing that I advise you is to try and just close a few things so you can start fresh, and this can be quite overwhelming. So now I'm actually closing almost everything so I can start fresh, and this allows me to know what I want and what I do not want depending on the image that I have. And if you want to get the best out of Dehancer, you actually can shoot and introduce some highlight in your clip so you can actually have the best. Maybe you can bloom the highlight, or you can have some halation. But anyway, this is what we have. And the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to come to my input. So as you know, or you saw, we had Cineon log film, and that is what I'm going to put here, Cineon log film. As you can see, nothing changed because the same input, that's what basically we are inputting. And so many people would come here and choose a film, and you can see you do have some selection, but with me, I actually prefer a film print, which is better in my opinion. So I'm going to come here to print, and then I'm going to choose the Kodak 3513 print film, and then I'm going to enable it. As you can see, this is what we are getting right now. Anyway, you know what, you can just put on the saturation and export this. It does look good, but there's a few things that we need to do. And the best thing about Dehancer is that they actually allow you to come back to Dehancer and almost play with all this other node so you can have an image that is very well balanced. And that's why it's advisable to kind of put it here or at the end of your node tree. And if you have something else, such as, like, let's say the saturation and all these other nodes, and then you can do that later. By the way, I'm going to explain this other node to you, but now let's go back in Dehancer. So oops, that is a Siri. And so we are going to go back in our print. One thing that I'd like to do, I like to boost the color density so we can have the best of the best color of that film print. So I'm going to do that, and I'm actually going to leave it here. And the tonal contrast, so it's very effective. So I'm going to push it again, and I'm going to leave it here. Honestly, as you can see, this look is almost there just by a few clicks that we have done. And there's one thing that is very effective that I need to add, is the film grain, and my film grain, obviously it's going to be here. And then with the film grain, what I'm going to enable it. As you can see, 8 is the too much. And the thing that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to like put the amount here, and I'm going to go to film type, and I'm going to make it positive. This is better for me because I do not want it to be too much, and I want it to be very subtle. So that is good. And you can even go as far as to go to analog and digital experimental, but with me, I actually prefer to leave it like that. As you can see, this is very good for me. So we're gonna go back into Dehancer again. All this node, I've not touched them at all, and I'm just dealing with what Dehancer is giving me. And the reason why I'm doing that, so when I go back here to add the value, I want to see, do I have to come back to Dehancer and take off or add more? So I'm going to come here to expand, and I'm going to go to the black point and the white point. So I'm going to enable this, and then I'm going to kind of like push the white point here, and I'm going to push the black point maybe there. So this is before and after, and I'm going to leave it like that. And when I was shooting this image, I actually focused so much on letting this light hit their skin, because you know, once you're in the gym, sometimes the lights misbehave, and I wanted to have that effect. And I really want that to show in my image. And as you can see, this is actually very good, and I'm not even gonna play too much with it. I'm just gonna close it there. And then another thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back into vignettes. And the reason why I'm doing vignettes, because I want my viewer to be able to focus on my character. And trust me, the vignette in Dehancer is the best vignette I've used, and it kind of allowed me to get you guys to focus on this area here. And if you see, if I actually enable my vignette, it does help a lot. It kind of like almost take away from the white, which is why I actually have this node here. So I'm going to do that and just leave it on. As you can see, this is a pretty good look, and we can't really complain. So I'm going to close that, and I'm going to leave it there. So there's a few things that you can also add, such as halation. And halation, you can't really see the big effect of it unless you have some clip that have lots of highlights in them. So I'm just gonna enable them. And as you can see, it's very effective, but not too much. But I just like that. One thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to add the impact just a little bit, and I'm going to leave it there. And again, the bloom as well, you can't really see unless you see on this highlighted part. So if I put on bloom, you see how it's almost effective even in an area that's very shiny. And I'm going to leave it on, but I'm going to put the impact way down because I don't want it to be over or exaggerated. So this is what I have. So as you can see, I've not actually played with all this other node because I actually want to see how much my clip is affected, or how much the Dehancer is affecting my clips. Then I will come back here and massage all this node to make sure that I'm happy with the output. And one thing that I tend to check is actually the black, and that is why I do have this node here. So again, I'm gonna come back in Dehancer and go back to expand again, and just trying to maybe put the black point there, and I'm now going to leave it here. So one thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to come back to my LUMA and then make sure that I'm happy with how my image luminance is. So I'm gonna pack my image here. One thing that I'm gonna do, I'm going to click my qualifier and then actually gonna see where my skin tone is. As you can see, we do have two different type, black skin tone and very light skin. So one thing that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to come here and I'm going to go to my waveform, and then I'm going to go to my Y and then take off the colorize. This is because I just want to focus on the luminance value of my image. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the offset to kind of like push this more, and I'm actually going to push it more until when I'm happy with where it is. And the reason why I'm doing this is so I can actually achieve the look that we plan to do when we were shooting, and is that almost high key gym light but with the character still looking good. And then I'm going to leave my image here. Another thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to work on my contrast. So I'm going to introduce some contrast in my image until when I feel like I am happy. So I'm gonna push it until there. So this is what I have, and honestly I am going to leave it here. And then the best thing that I'm going to work on is now the saturation. And there's so many ways that you can do the saturation, but when dealing with black skin tone, this is the best way that I tend to work with saturation. So you come to your node, and then you go to your color space, you go to HSV, and then you come back to your color space, and then you go to the channel. Sorry, you come back to your node and you go to the channel, and then disable channel 1. You come back again, and then you disable channel 3. So what you have to do, you then come here and deselect all these and pick only one channel, which is the obviously the channel that you left on, and you're going to come here and then add default anchor. So you actually move this. If you want to deselect this, you can actually just right click and it's going to go. So now I'm going to push my saturation. Like as you can see, this is more pleasing for me, and I'm actually going to park it there because this is before and this is after. But one thing I've actually trained my eyes is to see the things that are affected when you do, like let's say you push or pull. And something that you might not notice is there's a bit of green in everything here. So this here, there's a lot of green, and there's a lot of green. There's two ways that you can do that. So one is go back to Dehancer, and then you have to use your color head. This is almost like film print in DaVinci Resolve, and when you click both, you can then move the value accordingly, but that is not really doing much. That is doing a bit of work, but is not doing much. So I'm going to leave that, or just basically deselect everything, and then I'm gonna go back here, and then this is where I'm going to use de-spill, and that is before I balance my image, because I want to make sure each color value look accordingly or look properly. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to type in de-spill, and then I'm going to bring my de-spill and put it here. As you can see, it has green selected, and if we go before and after, there's so much difference that it creates. It removes every type of cast in our image, which is good. So that is before and that is after. Before and after. So now I can go back to Dehancer and move freely before I balance my image. One thing that I'm going to do, I'm actually gonna go here. By the way, there's a billions way to balance your image in DaVinci Resolve, but for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna go here and then click the teeth, because that is a whiter portion of this image that I could see. I also have a lot of balancing tools that I use, but for the sake of video, that's the way we are going to balance. So as you can see, that small adjustment, this is before and this is after, this is before and this is after, and this is very pleasing for me because we still have these highlights that we intentionally wanted to be there. So I would say I'm happy with this. And if I actually go to Dehancer and I bring it down, this is cine on log film, and this is what Dehancer have helped us to achieve it. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to make sure that the skin and all the other colors look good. So the first thing that I'm going to attack my blacks, and the reason why I'm targeting the hair, I'm targeting the clothes, and basically everything, so the black looks cleaner. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna go back here again and click on saturation versus luminance. So I'm going to select the black while I'm here, and then when you select the black, you don't need to exaggerate it. You can just do a little bit like this. And if you actually go, so before and after, before and after, before and after, this just give your black a bit of a definition. You also have to recheck your image and see how that have affected your selection, and you can just make it a bit subtle, if that makes sense. So that is before and after. So for me, this is very good. This is very optional, but now you can actually go back into Dehancer and revisit your film print and see, is there any other film prints that can help me to maybe get more? So I'm going to do that for you. So this is now Kodak 2383 film print, and if I put it on, as you can see, it have the way that it behave, which is very different, and some people might actually like this look or no. And one thing that I'm still saying, I still have a lot of noise that I'm actually going to go and trying to take care of, but we're going to go back on our Fujifilm 3513, and then I'm going to go back on my film grain, and I'm actually going to bring it a bit there, and I feel like that, for me, that looks very good. So as you can see, this is what we are dealing with. And one thing that I'm saying is that the skin tone, I want to desaturate it just a little bit so it won't be too shiny. So I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to go back to my skin and then select. By the way, you can also use the 3D selection, which I believe it's actually better, and I'm gonna come back here to my vector scope. So when I actually select the skin, you can see the hue, and then you can even use your offset to try and change your skin hue, or you might want this to be more yellower, greener, depending on what you want. I'm actually going to do that here and show you. So I'm just gonna push it to where I feel like I want it to be. So that is too much, and maybe there, and I'm actually gonna do that. Another thing that I'm going to do, I'm gonna go back here to the hue versus saturation. I'm going to reselect our skin, and then I'm gonna put it there, and I'm just going to desaturate it. Why? Because I can. So I'm gonna leave this here. So that is what I really feel like, this is what this image want. And then I'm gonna go back into Dehancer, and then now I'm going to make sure that I just cut off a bit of the shininess on her skin, because I feel like it's a bit too much. And there's two ways you can do that. You can still go in, let's say, your balance, and then cut down on the highlight, which, as you can see, that actually helps. So I'm not going to do it in Dehancer. So this is the look that I am very happy with. And the reason why I'm happy with this, remember, the intention when filming was to get a normal like gym look where two people are training, and you still have this light hitting her, which could be reflected from anything in the gym. So guys, as you can see, this is the look that we have created with Dehancer, and we went from that to this, which looks very good, and I'm very happy with this. Again,